My name is Ruqya Sheikh Mohammed. I live in Minnesota currently with my family. I have a 3-year-old son, so he keeps me really busy. And in my career, I would say I'm in tech. So I'm a software engineer, and then I'm also a student at Rabata. Rabata for me, in just a short sentence, is an answer to my dua. So this year, me and my family, for the first time, I went to Umrah in March 2020, this year. And I made a lot of dua when I was doing Umrah and when I was in the Medina, that, Ya Allah, please, I really want to be a student of knowledge. And I just didn't know how. I was like, I want to be a student of knowledge, and I also want to be in a companionship of sisters that really benefit me, and I can build that companionship that the Prophet ﷺ had. So I made that dua, and then I came back, and I actually didn't know about Rabata. I've been in Minnesota since 1994. I've never heard of this organization till there's a sister in my Umrah trip. She's like, oh, you're from Minnesota. Did you hear about this organization called Rabata? Are you part of it? I said, no, I don't know what that is. Then my little cousin, who was also on the trip, we came back. She's like, hey, there's halaqas every Sunday at this place called Rabata. Do you want to check it out? I said, oh, okay, sure. I don't mind. And I came, and then I was like, wow, I know Auntie Tamara from the internet. I know her through Yaqeen. She did a really good series on Tahajjud. That's the first time I ever heard of her. I said, wow, this is the same lady. She lives in Minnesota. I didn't know this because she's such a gem. Like, when I learned those lessons about Tahajjud, I said, this is so beneficial. And then I started coming here, and it was Ramadan the first time I came here. Then they talked about there was a Taraweeh that they do here. So I said, what? There's sisters only Taraweeh? Let me check it out. I came, and I instantly fell in love with the programming, just the space. I felt very safe. I felt like the people here were very welcoming. And then I learned that this is also an institute while I was here. I said, oh, that's interesting. And most of their classes were online. And I was like, I don't like online school. But one of the sisters encouraged me, just sign up. And I did. I signed up for the Tajweed class. And I also took the Hadith intensive this year with Auntie Tamara in this building. So that was a good balance for me to have an in-person experience and an also Zoom experience. And I really like those experiences because, like I said, I brought it back to the answer to my dua. And I would be here every Sunday for halaqah. I would take my classes every week. I'd be here for that hadith intensive. I met a lot of amazing sisters. There's so many things that I learned about different things that are going on and making just connections. And I just honestly feel privileged to be in the same space as Auntie Tamara and just learning from her and just the ilm that she's providing. And this semester I continued. I didn't want to stop, so I'm continuing. I'm also taking a companions class, and then inshallah I want to continue taking classes. Immediately when I started, I feel like everything is perfectly timed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I felt like the timing of me coming here right after I did Umrah in Ramadan, it was a very spiritual time for me already. And in Ramadan, Allah has really blessed me to really take advantage of my ibadah here. And even though I'm a mom, and I'm a single mom actually, so some days I wasn't able to come all the time. But the days that my son was with me, I would bring him, and this place is welcoming to moms. I've noticed that from the beginning. There's children here that run around all the time, even during halaqah and during the Ramadan. There's children here. There's children programming for them. So it's a very welcoming space for all types of sisters. It's not just sisters that have one type of experience. It's really for all. So that's one thing that I noticed, that Allah was allowing me to really opening me up spiritually to take all of this in. I was able to take this in, the fact that the Taraweeh experience, and then the classes really, it was just perfect timing. I had that spiritual high from Umrah and Ramadan, and then I continued to push through to the classes. The classes were really hard. I'm telling you, it's my first time being a student of knowledge, and I don't remember since probably I was in high school, because I went to a Muslim school. But it was very intense, and I really had to push myself through. But then I would talk to Auntie Iman and be like, hey, I don't know about this halaqah I have to do, because my tajweed class, I would have to do halaqah every 2 times a week. And I was like, what time do you, and then she would advise me. And people here are very encouraging. It's they don't allow you to really find excuses, right? If with every hesitation you have, they have a good response for you to let you at ease. So I noticed that it also taught me to be a consistent person and push through, because things don't come easy, especially when you're trying to learn. the deen. And the one big thing for me is like it makes you refine your character. Every Sunday we talk about things that are character based, like how to be a better Muslim, how to treat your mom, how to treat your family members. Like the halaqah are very practical, and the classes are also practical in your life too. I've learned that I need to be very intentional about my experience as a mom. Like I learned that the importance of the haqq that people have in your life. The first right that's upon you is your relationship with God, and then it's the relationship with the people that are around you. And Anse really focuses on that. She really allows us to like know, because the more you know, the more that you can do. And the number one thing I'm learning as a mom is you are the first teacher to your children. And as a mom, and you need to be educated in yourself, and education is the best. Like Anse always says, education is the number one thing that you can do for positive cultural change. That's really what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to change and be a positive impact for my son and generations to come. As spiritually, yes, I've seen changes. I think I touched on that, but like more emotionally, I would say like my environment has changed, right? So when I was making that transition and trying to be really more intentional about my deen, I really asked God a lot for good environment, and I feel like I have that environment here. Sisters here are very like-minded. We have very similar like struggles that we're going through. We're trying to all get closer to Allah and learn about the Prophet ﷺ. And when you're around people like that, it's just there's khair, there's barakah in it, and that's really been something I've learned. And I've also learned that anything is possible as long as you actually make the effort. You actually have to put in the first effort, and Allah will, do so much more for you than just that one step that you've taken. So I've also learned to have like tawakkul, more tawakkul in God, and just really trust the path, and trust the journey that God is putting you through, and the people He's putting around you is there. Everything has a purpose. There's a lot of fitna in the world right now. There's a lot of fitna in the United States, and there's a lot of fitna within our ummah. And there is the fact that we don't have, in Minnesota, I've been here my whole life. I've told you since like 94. I came here when I was 3 months old. I mean, like a year old. And one thing I noticed is that Minnesota is very homogenous. Like, I'm Somali. This is the biggest, I think one of the biggest Somali populations outside of Somalia. And my whole life, a lot of the Muslim community are very like it's just the Somali masjid, the Oroma masjid, the Arab masjid, this type of country masjid. That's really how the community is, right? And in Islam, something that was really hard for me growing up is like, why are we all separate? And something I feel like is really important with the Rabata expansion is Rabata does not have that. Like, there's not just one group of people that come here, one group of sisters. It is honestly all types of sisters that come here. There's no really every type of sister is welcome. And it's not just, Rabata doesn't just have programming for a certain type of group, right? It's like they have programs for like adult women, they have programs for teens, they have programs for children, they have all these events, they have a space. And I feel like the first thing the Prophet ﷺ did when he came to Medina is he built a masjid, because he realized the importance of community. And Rabata also realizes the importance of community. And to have positive cultural change, you need space, right? There's the space, you've seen it, it's really beautiful, it's nice, but there's so much more that Rabata can do if they had more space to do it. Because they're really trying, they're very, very intentional about the community building that they're doing, that is going not just locally, but people come here from all over the world. This year I met so many sisters from all over the world that just travel here just to come to Rabata, even if they're not staff. There's sisters in Ramadan that came here from different states just to be part of the Taraweeh program. There's sisters here that came from different states to be part of the class, in-person classes. Like, there is a high, in economy they talk about supply and demand. There's so much demand for the work that Rabata is doing, but there just needs to be more space to make that impact. And something I really love about Rabata, I also take another class here, but it's not through Rabata, it's through Hikmah Academy by Ustada Khotun Karani. And isn't it beautiful how they're uplifting another organization to allow them to have classes here? There is, like, I don't know a lot of organizations that are doing such things like that. I think a recurring theme that I always think about when I think about this statement is that positive cultural change does not start with other people. So it does not start with you pointing the finger of like, oh, the Muslim ummah is so messed up, my family is messed up, my situation is messed up. Yes, that can all be true, but it all actually starts with you. And I actually learned that here at Rabata, that positive cultural change and any change that is good for your dunya and akhirah starts with you as an individual. You have to be the one to take that one step. And I've seen it, Ansi repeats this a lot. Like, once you start changing, you'll notice the people around you change. So if you're not in a healthy environment, or you don't have the greatest relationship, or you have anger issues or some issues, if you change the way you are, the people around you start reacting differently because they haven't seen that. And yes, it might take a long time, but like similar, if we look at the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ, it did take a long time for Islam to be from the first time he got revelation to 23 years later. That's a long time if you think about it. But it's like being consistent and making dua to Allah every time of the way, that it's possible, but it starts with you. And once you start to see that, it becomes an effect around the people around you. And Rabata has really taught me that. And I really love that mission statement, mashallah, it's amazing.